asshat gets up there and basically tries to taunt Vladimir Putin into beginning World War III, you know what? He might get his wish. This might actually happen. Remember, I told you yesterday that Putin was at a summit of foreign leaders that did not include the United States and the usual suspects from NATO. And he was asked a question about the United States providing weapons that are being now used, that the Ukrainians are now using and are firing at Moscow, or firing at civilian populations in Russia. And Putin said, well, what if I were to take Russian weapons and give them to countries where those guys have undeclared wars and military actions that they're fighting, and give them to countries nearby so they could shoot them at them? What do you think about that? You know, the patience of the Russian bear may be wearing thin here, folks. Judge Andrew Napolitano conducted an interview yesterday. Very, very interesting. Worth watching the entire thing. We will present about 2 minutes of it to you. This is Dr. Gilbert Doctorow, international affairs analyst, author, and historian. Dr. Doctorow, it's Doctorow, said he's looking right at Judge Napolitano and says, well, here's how this is probably going to play out. Here is probably what Putin and the Russian military are going to do. And he actually lays out not only where this might happen, but what kind of an initiative it might be. So, you know, you see, you hear this, and you hear, or assuming that he is a good source, and Judge Napolitano interviews him, that's good enough for me. The Russians have a lot of options here. The Ukrainians, almost none. Other than France, Germany, England, United States getting into an alliance there and then all in unison fighting with the Ukrainians and basically beginning World War III, which is what Biden basically tried to taunt Putin into doing yesterday by embarrassing him on an international stage. I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand. What is it? Have we not killed enough human beings here on this continent? So let's go kill a couple 100,000 more on their continent. Let's go see if we can take out a couple of million Russian boys. Oh, by the way, the Russians won't play games with this. You know, this is what the world doesn't understand. President Putin and the Russians are playing for survival. They know, because of their turn away from communism and totalitarianism, and I'm not saying that their turn is complete or that it's perfect or even that it's beautiful, but I do know from witnesses inside Russia that it is there and that the Russians are headed back towards where they were in Christendom. At least they're heading towards it. You can call me all kind of naivety, stupid names, and what have you. Oh, you don't believe that. They're moving in that direction. Again, it ain't perfect. It might not even be beautiful yet. But that is, I believe, what the evidence says. It doesn't mean all of them. It doesn't mean that there aren't communists there. I know I can hear you pecking away in the Crusader Stadium chat room or yelling at your smartphone or your radio or at YouTube. But at least they're going in the right direction. Seemingly. At least they have the appearance. What do we have? What do we have? We're Jesse freaking Owens sprinting away from it. Fast as we can. We can't kill enough babies. We can't mutilate enough children. We can't promote enough angry, ugly, fat women and claim and proclaim them to be beauty queens. We've got men winning women's swimming tournaments. And no one seems to care, except Trump. We will talk today about President Trump as well as the antidote to all this. As a matter of fact, I have a most interesting essay on this subject. Why America needs a monarchy. Michael Quenco at UNHERD, unheard.com. Well, I read this with great interest because he talks about 1776. You know, we're giving a Golden Truth ticket car away this month. Your coupon code still works, by the way. You Founders Pass members, you're going to get another email at exactly 7 a.m. this morning as a reminder of the fundraiser and the fact that you get 10% off of your tickets. No one else does. And we send that email out, sans the coupon code, to 5,000 other people. But we give you the 10% discount advantage because we love you, because you're our Founders Pass members, and without you, we wouldn't be here. So hopefully it's a big sale weekend for the Golden Truth ticket. Again, you got a 1 in 1,000 shot of winning. Right now, you got like a 1 in 16 chance in winning. $30,000. You know what that means? Crusade Channel is bankrupt, but you get a new car. A new car! So go to crusadechannel.com/golden. I was watching there was a town hall. Where was the town hall at last? Was it on, it wasn't on CNN, was it? Trump's town hall that he was at last night, where the woman asked him, I have a concern about I'm a senior citizens advocate.
It was Turning Point Action in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, it was in Phoenix, Arizona. There's Turning Point USA had a town hall meeting of sorts, and we have lots of digital media files. By the way, he's doing a campaign rally in Nevada on Sunday. We will preempt Sermon Sunday. You'll get plenty of sermons. And we'll cover carry the audio on the Crusade Radio Network here. It's supposed to start at noon Eastern. He's never on time. And I won't actually trigger the preemption until he's actually there. He's actually on the stage. But in any event, he's asked some questions about things that are going on. And he actually has, again, there is at least someone trying to propose solutions here. Now, I want to hit you up finally with this, and I'm going to come back to the Biden taunting Putin into a war. This is the cult of death at work here. Again, the Russians are moving towards Christendom, old Christendom, new Christendom, whatever you want to call it. It may not be perfect. I have to keep hitting the disclaimer, but they're going in that direction. We're running as fast as we can away from it. And we seem to have military hardware that we can aim and drop on anyone that is moving in a similar direction as the Russians. That should disturb people. I think the empire is coming to an end, and I think that the empire is going to crumble. After all, in The Empire Strikes Back and in the Star Wars movies, the empire does ultimately crumble. All empires do. The Soviet Empire didn't even make it a half a century. Our empire is probably just about as old. No, our empire is about 75 years old. You might even say the same age as D-Day, but around the same time. And I don't believe that it'll ever make it to the century mark, and it's going to crash. So we'll come back to that discussion, but I want to hit you with something else. Someone said yesterday, see, the trial of Hunter Biden proves that justice in America and the justice system, I know it was Merrick Garland, said that the justice system still works. Our system of justice applies to everyone. No one is above the law. Hunter Biden's trial proves it. Is it an accident that Hunter Biden's trial is happening in the month where we await the sentencing of Don John of Mar-a-Lago? Is it an accident that Hunter Biden's show trial is happening in around the same time that Trump's trial that has just concluded, that it started a mere 2 days? No, 1 day. If you count Friday, 1 day, because it started yesterday. It started on Monday. Or nearly at the same time that Trump was convicted on. And by the way, And I have to get a memo out to all my people. Stop saying he was convicted of 34 felonies. He was not convicted of 34 felonies. There were 34 charges and we still don't know exactly what the felony was, but he was convicted on 34 charges of a felony. Yeah, but TKD, the judge considered. I know, but it was one entry in one ledger in one book. That's one. That's not 34. So why is the Hunter Biden trial happening as it is? Why is baby boy, crackhead with crack whores in tow, why is the regime allowing their prince, and he is their prince, to be paraded and embarrassed and publicly shamed and humiliated? The Bidens are out there. We love our son. Yeah, he's a crackhead and he ain't no crack horse, but we love. Why are they doing it? Come on, man, you're not that silly. Everyone knows the answer to this, right? It's a rhetorical question. I don't even need to answer it, do I? Do you really need the answer? Because I'd be happy to give it to you, but you really don't need it. So why? Because they're going to find him guilty. He's going to get sentenced to house arrest. And they're going to slap an ankle bracelet on him. There's going to be a press conference where the old man is going to come and say, Justice, we don't have a two-tier system in America. Our justice system apply to everyone. And they're going to do that so that when Judge Mershon throws Donald Trump in an orange jumpsuit into jail at Rikers Island, they can go, he got what he deserved. He's a convicted felon. Our son, our Prince Hunter, is also a convicted felon. The justice system works. That's why they're doing it. So they can go out there and they can run TV ads and send all of the usual suspect talking heads out there to go proclaim that the justice system is not two-tiered, that it's one-tiered. She's got scales, she's blind, she doesn't see, and she is absolutely perfect, and he is the only scar on the body politic that's ever ran for office in the history of our country. That's why they're doing it. So, you heard it here first. They will convict. That jury will convict Hunter. They will. You can even, if you're paying attention to the trial, you can hear the defense's arguments. And you go, really, dude? That's your argument? Well, let's read the actual piece. What in the hell was that? I just broke something. Me pounding the dais, I knocked something. Oh, okay. That might be important, actually, that thing.
Well, stop hitting the desk.
It's a desk. It's meant to be pounded.
No,
it's a pounding desk. Yes, it is. They're going to find him. I mean, the defense is, well, he didn't read. They actually had the form that Hunter checked the box on where he said he was not a crackhead and wasn't hanging out with crack whores, and that he had no mental issues and wasn't using drugs or illegal illicit substances or however it was worded. They actually had it read in court yesterday. See how misleading this is? He actually didn't perjure himself. He actually told the truth. That's their defense. Not that he didn't do it. Not that he didn't have the weapon. Not that he wasn't hanging out and wasn't having relations with his brothers, his dead brother's wife. None of that. He did all that. He cut the rocks of coke up and distributed the methamphetamine. He did all of that. All of it. He just wasn't in the right state of mind to read what he was checking the box for and signing his name, you see. So in any event, all of this is happening. I'm also going to take you back to the year that was 2020, and we're going to hop into the King Dude's Wayback Machine, and we're going to play you a 2.5-minute long soundbite. You can watch it on YouTube if you are out there watching. Again, make sure you are ticking the subscribe button to the Crusade Radio Network, and thank you in advance on YouTube. I'm going to take you back to May or April of 2020. And the president of the United States, the then president of the United States, having his daily press conference. And he spent about 5 minutes on that press conference touting the benefits of hydroxychloroquine. He even says, they told me not to come out here and say this, but I have to say it because it works. He even gave stern warnings about ventilators. And that almost everyone that gets put on a ventilator gets killed, dies. And that this is not the outcome that we want here. So why don't we just try the hydroxychloroquine and not worry about what, what plants crave or what crooked, corrupt doctors crave? I had forgotten about this, and I think it's worthy of remembering because, we all like to heap blame upon Trump for the Operation Warp Speed and vaccines and all that. There were some good things at least he attempted some good things. So we'll talk about that. By the way, the Biden regime is marshaling its forces together. And if you dare to watch the Malachian satanic media, you're going to see people like former AG Eric Holder tell you that Trump is Satan himself. And by the way, Holder is a great example of that our ruling elites are the synthesis of all tyrannies today. So we'll unpack all of that and the Golden Truth Ticket soundbite of the day on its way next here on the Mike Church Show. Go.
See you soon, Toretto. Look forward to a cop.
That's obviously Vin Diesel from Fast and Furious, and Maggie is spinning the wheel now. Be caller number... Is it? Oh, 5. Be caller number 5, 844-527-8723 when you hear it called the soundbite played back. Caller number 5. Yesterday was Tony B, right? So 4 winners this week. We began with who was on Monday? Monday was Bart Schwar. Tuesday was Maddie P.
Then Philip Thoreau.
Philip Thoreau, displaced Cajun on Wednesday. Then yesterday, another Cajun, or at least a Yat. Tony B from NOLA. Today, maybe I call your name out and I add you to the list of superstars that now have Golden True tickets and a chance to win the 2024 Kia Sportage. So keep it tuned here to the Crusade Radio Network for all of that. All right, let's get into it, shall we? I want to start with this. Play the digital media file. Play. It's not even on here.
What?
The one from Judge Napolitano.
You didn't?
Yes, I did, Maggie. I did send it. I most certainly did with the time code. Started at 9:45.
Oh, you sent that late. I have it.
Okay, all right. Well, I just said it wasn't on this. You see how live radio works, you
I
people.
even gave you the updated time.
Well, I don't have an update. I have hand scribble on my cut sheet right here. Would Steve Ducey have to suffer this on Fox and Friends? I don't think so.
Steve Ducey's producers get paid.
Yeah, and he has 16 of them too.
They all get paid.
Well, maybe if some people that are watching on YouTube out there go and buy Golden Truth tickets, and we get to sell an actual 1,000, maybe we can add an intern/producer. Here is the professor, as I was saying earlier today. This is worth watching the entire interview. Dr. Gilbert Doctorow, PhD. Now, Biden goes yesterday and uses his D-Day commemoration speech to start World War III. while veterans that survived World War II are sitting behind him, and no one is clapping, by the way. The only person sitting behind this wretched excuse for a human being is Jezebel Jill, who's going, yay, World War III, awesome, honey, you can do it, you're a great commander-in-chief, get out there and show those kids. Well, if Putin was out there, and by the way, this was to embarrass the president of the Russian Federation. This was calculated to embarrass Putin and try and taunt or goad him into starting World War III. Into expanding. So what is this? So this, gosh, I almost dropped an F-bomb. Biden used what is supposed to be a peaceful event. Let's think back to the horrors of war. Let's look at these men that survived it. Let's hear their stories, and let's do everything in our power to avoid another one. Not this man. Oh, no. Let's start another one. Let's bring death and destruction to Europe. You know, everyone likes a good old-fashioned carpet bombing. Why don't we have a carpet bombing? So instead of using the world stage, as Ronald Reagan did at the Brandenburg Gate, he didn't try to goad Gorbachev into doing anything other than, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And what did Reagan preface that by? Go listen to the Brandenburg Gate speech. It's magnificent. Second best one he ever gave. What does he say? The United States did not come here for war. We don't want war. We seek peace. We want peace, Mr. Gorbachev. We do not want war. No one wants another world war. We want peace. This wall stands between the rest of the world and you, which is why Reagan said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. It was a masterstroke, but it was from a position of strength, but he was advocating. Go listen to it. Don't take my word for it. Go listen to it. I just listened to it the other day. He said peace. Oh God, he must have said peace 30 times. What does Biden say? Putin is an angry overlord, war, tyrannical monster. You think that by embarrassing him, this is going to bring anything other than continued? All it's going to do is double the Russian resolve. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States of America, if we were to ally with the Germans, with the Krauts, the Frenchies, the English, doesn't matter who you would ally with, unless the Chinese come along for the ride, we're not going to be victorious in a war against the Russians. Millions of American boys and millions of Russians and millions of English and millions of French and millions of Krauts are going to die. This is the cult of death at work here, and some of us are sick of it. Do we survive? Here's a calculus for all you out there. Is President Putin sitting out there going, this wretched excuse for old man, pass vodka, I need drink. This wretched excuse for commander-in-chief. Don't know if I can keep level-head until I help Trump, the chief Trump too, that all. This has to be the only calculus that Putin has. Can he keep Russia from being invaded or assaulted and Russians being killed by the United States and NATO until November without warlike provocations or actually expediting the assault? So listen to Dr. Gilbert Doctorow, or watch this. This is what he says, how this could go. Watch.
What is much more likely, and I think his answer yesterday is a way hinting at the kind of response we can expect from Mr. Putin, although I don't agree that the first response will be to provide weapons to people in the Middle East. I think the first response would be to destroy Kiev. To decapitate the government in Kiev and possibly after giving a sufficient warning of a day or two to get the civilians out, leveling the city. I think that that is likely because there'll be no blowback. Nobody in Western Europe, not to mention the States, will shed a tear if Kiev disappears. If that doesn't solve the problem, and if there's still attacks coming from Ukrainian territory, supposedly by Ukrainian forces, the next step, and this is not, I'm not pulling this out of the air, it is a point that's been made on Russian talk shows, what they would like to see happen. They will demolish the Polish airport and logistical infrastructure that has been enabling the Ukrainians by serving as a go-between between U.S. deliveries and West European deliveries and further shipments into the Ukraine across the border. Again, looking at the situation, yes, you can say that would trigger Article 5. Well, to my knowledge,
Listen
Article
to this
5
part.
does not require that the other countries respond. It just provides a framework for their responding. And I think it's hardly possible that anyone in Western Europe will give a damn if Poland is struck by Russian forces. And if that doesn't work, then the third in a sequence of responses would be to hit military bases and manufacturing facilities in Germany, England, and France. You'll note I'm excluding the possibility of a direct Russian attack on the continental United States with nuclear weapons.
Well, that's good.
That is off script. Why? Because it's suicidal. Even if the Russians have this massive, very advanced strategic triad, there's still American weapons come from nuclear-powered submarines with appropriate cruise missiles. They would get through, and there would be massive losses of life in Russia. He is not a gambler.
Okay.
So I think this is the scenario, or a scenario that is more probable.
That is a very...
Okay, thank you, Judge Napolitano, for that, and for Dr. Gilbert Doctorow. You can find that video on YouTube. Professor Gilbert Doctorow, PhD, Are Russian Threats Serious? So this is a man that spends his time, like General Scott McGregor and others do, looking at this situation, and they have been pretty accurate thus far. Now, note that the first item on the list is to turn Zelensky's palace into a pile of rubble. Into a smoldering pile of rubble. Now, who wants this? Cui bono? Who benefits from this? Why would the Russians do this? Okay, well, they would do it because the Zelensky regime, in partnership with the Biden regime, is using American intercontinental or short range. This is the Crusade radio network. Short-range ICBMs, and they're lobbing them into Russia. Now, the Russians are shooting them all down, just like they've been destroying our drones and what have you here. But it is draining some of their supplies, and there is a possibility that some of them may ultimately get through and may kill civilian populations. You start getting Russians killed in this activity here, it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a risk or stratego expert to figure out what pressure would then come to bear on the Russian parliament and the Russian Federation and President Putin. They would be pressured to respond to stop it so it doesn't happen again and more Russians don't die. Folks, this is straight up evil here. Is Biden being told that he can save his re-election by being a commander-in-chief at war? Don't poo-poo it then, and don't laugh at it, because that may be what he's being told. Start a war. If we can't win the old-fashioned way by voters, then screw everybody. And we don't care if a couple, 10, 20,000, 150,000 Americans die. We're going to kill them anyway.
He's about to die anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna take them out anyway. You got illegals out there that are going to take them out. Let's start a war. Start a war. People won't want to change commander-in-chief during a war. We won't want to change, because we's Americans and we like war. Well, I don't know that these Americans these days like war very much. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty assured that most Americans don't want war. And most Americans don't want their little homo faggot sons to go fight a war because they know that they'll come home in body bags, if they come home at all. So then why do it? Why in May of 2024, 2.5 years into this completely avoidable conflict here, why would you then escalate? And this is an escalation. The logic, let's use logic now, logic would dictate that the cui bono, who benefits, is Biden and his creeps, his cult of death cabinet, have told him, Mr. President, Americans will get behind their commander-in-chief if we are at war. Did none of these bozos bother to tell this idiot, this screaming, conniving wretch of an old man, senile, dementia-ridden old man, did none of them bother to tell him that the Russians, if it were to come to it, will fight an all-out total war for their survival? The empire of the Russian Federation is a guarantee that it will survive this. The empire of the United States is not a guarantee that it will survive. If a Russian nuke gets through our air defenses and takes out an American city, the American citizens aren't going to react the way you think they're going to react. They're not all going to run to Papa Biden and say, give me a uniform and what is the, Garand. Give me a uniform, a Garand, and a box of shells and tell me where to go. I believe more people are more likely to say, hey, we're not in cahoots with them anymore. This was what would cause the empire to break up, for individual states to go, that's it, hey man, we're out. We are not sending our boys to go fight in a stupid war and go die in a war, and we'll have no future that you started. We're done. We want to make peace with the Russians. We don't hate them, and they don't hate us, you idiots. Boy, it boggles the mind, though, folks. Is there no one that is safe? There is no one that is safe from these people. Here, you want to hear how they project? Listen to this. Play digital media file number 1. This is sickening. This is why my adage, which everyone is going to be quoting by the end of the summer, our ruling elites are the synthesis of all tyrannies. Eric Holder. Now, this is 100% pure, unadulterated demonic projection here. This is what they have done, what they are doing, and what they intend to continue to do, but we're going to project it on to our enemy, who is Trump.
Can you just describe a little bit in terms of the role of and how it would transform if an attorney general, we're not looking at things purely from the facts, purely from the evidentiary burden and how to meet it, but instead taking directives on who to prosecute from the President of the United States?
Sure. If the president told a compliant attorney general, I don't like what this congressman said about me or did to me over the course of the last 2-3 years, whatever, open an investigation on that person. That attorney general could tell a compliant United States attorney to do just that. Talk to a compliant FBI director who could be replaced by the president. To open an investigation, and then to just look through that person's life and look for anything that you possibly can find. Who's to say what you find in any person's life that might run afoul of the law, and even beyond that, the mere fact of an investigation of a person who is a public figure can be reputation ruining, can be politically damaging. No. Not even if you find anything, just the fact that the investigation itself exists. And if you've got the full weight of the Justice Department, the full weight of the presidency, the full weight of the FBI focusing on somebody like that, that can be extremely damaging to not only that person individually, but to our democracy writ large.
To our democracy. Who's he talking about? Now, this is the former Attorney General of the United States giving that woman the playbook. Oh, you want to know how we do it? This is how you do it. Here you go. Did we ever do it? Hell yeah, we did it. Are we going to do it? Hell yeah, we're going to do it again. It works. Did you hear the abuse, the salivating, yeah, this is how you do it. You go to a compliant. Well, what is a compliant attorney general? Now, this is why I make the little bucks around here, why you people tune in and watch this radio and this television show every day. What is compliant attorney general? I mean, these people assume you are an imbecile. But thanks to you listening to someone like me, and maybe even Judge Napolitano and other good men out there that are broadcasting into this, let me inform you of something. There is no such thing as a compliant attorney general. The Attorney General of the United States' office does not exist in the U.S. Constitution. It's not there. Well, how did it get there? Yeah, how did it get there? It was created by President Washington, and look, there is no compulsory reason. Ask Tom Woods this. Ask Kevin Gutzman this. Ask Jonathan Turley this. Ask any of the whiz-kid constitutional scholars this question. There is no compulsory reason that any president must appoint an attorney general. He does not have to. Anyone that tells you otherwise is wrong, doesn't know the Constitution, and doesn't know history. He does not have to. What if Trump were to come in and go like, I don't trust anyone that would have put into that office because it's corrupt. It's filled with corrupt attorneys. I'm going to fire all of them, many of them, but I can't get rid of all of them. I will not be appointing an attorney general. What America needs, our country, it needs peace. Our country needs peace. And we're going to have beautiful peace. We're going to have beautiful, great attorneys, the best attorneys. Wait till you see the speed with which our great, peaceful attorneys get out there. But we're not going to have an attorney general because I don't trust the office. It's been abused, and I don't trust it. It'd be the smart thing to do. Smart thing. There is no such thing as a compliant AG. An attorney general is executing a power that is granted to the President of the United States under Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution. End of story. Katie barred the door, put a stick of cartoon dynamite behind it, and if you open it, it explodes. That is the answer. There does not have to be, I'll give you some more. It doesn't have to be a transportation secretary. It doesn't have to be an energy secretary. It doesn't have to be an education secretary. Trump can come in, or someone can come in and go like, I'm abolishing all those agencies because I'm not going to appoint a secretary, and you can't make me. Article 2, Section 2 plainly says all offices not spelled out in the U.S. Constitution, let me give them to you. Speaker, which does not require the president, requires the House. President of the Senate, or President pro tem, doesn't require the president, requires the Senate. Vice president, president. There's your list. Oh, and a Supreme Court, a tribunal. Doesn't even say you have to have a Chief Justice. You just have to have a Supreme Court. And courts constituted under the Supreme Court, as Congress may from time to time establish. What does it say? All officers not mentioned, so Vice President, President, Speaker, President of the Senate, are what? Appointed by the President and confirmed by the advice and consent of the Senate. That language is specific and it has meaning. It means that all of those officers then are discharging powers the President has. So there's no such thing as compliant.
The Crusade Channel, your news talk at Art Bell Station. UFOs, Bigfoot, and ghost-busting conspiracy theory radio begins.